Hi, I hope you guys are keeping well. So, this is in continuation with what we started yesterday, and we are today on page number 51. And this is in continuation with an extract from the autobiography of Anne Frank, from the diary of Anne Frank, taken from the autobiography diary of a young girl, Anne Frank. So yesterday we discussed about how Anne Frank, although she has a lovable family and she has a sister and cousins and around 30 friends whom she can call as friends, but somehow she realizes that she can never come up to that comfort level where she can disclose her or share her inner feelings as a teenager, and that is when she decides to confide in a diary, something very unusual where a 13-year-old is writing and keeping a note of a diary, and not only a diary where she's just keeping an account of her day experiences, but she's confining it in the diary as a friend, and she refers to the diary as Kitty. So let's continue. Since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty if I were to plunge right in, I would rather provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. So she's trying to say that although she does not plan to share this diary with anyone else, and if you remember, it's a red checkered diary with a lock also, just to keep her secrets. But she says that she will wait till she finds someone who's trustable enough to share it. So she's trying to say that no one is going to understand what a 13-year-old is going to write in her diaries. And to Kitty, if I were to plunge right in, if I'm writing to Kitty, and if I'm trying to share whatever I feel like, nobody is going to understand. Plunge means to jump in. So she's trying to say that she wants to give a brief introduction about who she is and about her family background before you are in a position, the readers are in a position, in fact, Kitty also is in a position, Kitty is referred to the diary, is in a position to understand as in what is going on in Anne Frank's life, who is she, and what are the things that she wants to express as a 13-year-old. So she's giving an introduction about her life, and although she hates it, but she's doing so. My father, the most adorable father I have seen, she was very, very close to her father, Mr. Otto Frank, did not marry my mother until she was 36. Sorry, he was 36 and she was 25. So she's trying to give an introduction about how and her parents got married and how old were they when they got married. My sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926. I was born on 12th of June 1929. I is referred to Anne Frank. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. My father emigrated to Holland. Holland is an informal way to refer to Netherlands. Formerly it was called Holland, but nowadays we call it Netherlands. In 1933, my mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. Grandmother is referred to Edith Frank's mother. When they decided to move, migrate to Holland. And Margot went to Holland in December, and I followed in February. So they have moved from Frankfurt to Holland. And when I was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot, plunked down means she was put on the table just to show that this is your sister, probably because they were meeting after a long time. I started right away at the Montessori nursery school. So she's trying to say that how she started going to the local play school, creche, where children are kept, um, just to get a hang of the school life and activities before they are ready to go to school, kindergarten. I stayed there until I was 6 years old, at which time I started in the first form. And she's trying to say that how she started going in first grade when she was 6 years old. In the sixth grade or form, my teacher was Mrs. Cuperus, the headmistress. She's discussing about how her headmistress was her class teacher, and when she was in the sixth grade. At the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. Well, there are different kinds of school, and this school where Anne Frank initially started her schooling was only till sixth grade. So when she finished her sixth grade, it was a very emotional moment for the headmistress or the class teacher, and Anne Frank, and both of them were saying goodbye, their final goodbye, which is farewell, with a lot of tears, a lot of emotion. In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with little celebration. So this is the time when she's discussing, as children, as children, and when you're growing up, I think one of the most memorable moments or days to remember is birthdays and weddings and picnics. So she remembers very clearly about how her birthday was celebrated in a very small way because grandmother was sick. And grandma died in January 1942. No one knows how often I think of her, and I still love her. She is someone, there are different kinds of people with different personalities. Some are very easy to open up. From what I can understand about Anne Frank is that she was someone who was very, um, who found it very difficult to express. So she definitely, children usually love their grandparents. She did love and she did miss, but she could never express that her grandmother's absence. This birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other, and Grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. So she's describing the next year's birthday, which was to compensate the previous year's birthday also because it was not celebrated, and they lit one extra candle for grandmother, remembering her. The four of us are still doing well. Four is referred to her father, her mother, and her sister Margot and Anne Frank herself, and they are doing well. And that brings me to the present date of 20th June 1942 and the solemn dedication of my diary. So she's referring to this day when she has formally started writing her diary on 20th of June, and this was a brief introduction before she started doing so. So, a couple of questions here, the comprehension part. Let me see how many questions do we have. So, we have two questions, and now we'll discuss the question answers.